Hi, I'm Kathy Brown from The Teacher's Pet, and I'd like to introduce you to the Fat Quarter Cutter Ruler. This ruler is really unique in that it takes your fat quarters or yardage and cuts them into the pre-cut shapes that are very popular in the market today. We've got your 2.5-inch strips that you can cut, your 5-inch strips from here to here. This ruler will cut your 5-inch charms. It will also cut your 2.5 by 5-inch bars. It will cut 2.5-inch squares. We've got 2 of those. And if you turn the ruler upside down, you get all your 1.5 divisions. You've got your 1.5-inch strips here, 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 and again here. You've also got a 6-inch square that you can cut, and your 1.5-inch squares. So let me show you how this ruler works. When you have a fat quarter, the first thing you'd like to do is get a square edge to start cutting with. And you can take your ruler or your mat and turn it sideways to get the length that you need or the width that you need to cut your fat quarter. And for the purpose of a fat quarter, I always like to determine the usable space as a 16 by 20 instead of an 18 by 22. Because as we all know, fat quarters are not all created equal. So what I'm going to do is take this fat quarter and I'm going to slice off an edge to get a straight edge. And we'll get rid of that. Then I'll turn my mat sideways, line up the ruler to get a straight edge, and make the second cut. From this point, anything is fair game. You've got all the different cuts that you can make with this ruler. And first we'll cut a 2.5-inch strip. So what this allows you to do is take all of your stash that you have, and we all have tons of fat quarters, and cut it into the popular cuts today. Here's your 2.5-inch strip. We can also take that and move it over and get your 5-inch strips. Once you have something like a 5-inch strip or a 2.5, you can take, let's move the rest of this fat quarter out of the way and just use the 5 inches as an example. You can take your ruler then, turn it sideways, and with the markings for your 5-inch square, you can now cut your very own charm squares. Just like that. If you want to come back, yes, you've got your 5-inch width here. You can still cut a 5-inch square, or you could come back and cut a 2.5-inch by 5-inch rectangle. But first, let's do this. We're going to cut the 2.5-inch squares. Now, that's marked as a 2.5-inch square and a 2.5-inch square, but what you've actually gotten is your 2.5 by 5 bar. Turn that on its side, put your ruler in place, and you end up with your 2.5-inch squares. Now let's take the same piece that we cut just a moment ago, turn it back vertically, and turn our ruler over. We put the ruler on the edge, and we've got our 1.5-inch strips. And here's a 1.5-inch strip. We take the 1.5-inch strip and turn it around. Put your ruler on its markings. And even if it does just like I did right here, it slipped out of place, it doesn't matter. You've got your markings to put your over your strip so that you get it exactly like it should be. Line it up and cut your 1.5-inch strips. Easy as pie. Another unique part about this ruler that you might want to know is that if you look at it, all of your markings, they're divisible by 5. Your 5-inch charms, your 2.5 by 5-inch bars, and your 2.5 by 2.5 squares, as well as your 2.5-inch strips, all have the black markings. So as you're using this side of your ruler reading up, you see that everything is in black and everything is noted in black. Turn your ruler over to the 6-inch divisions, which are your 1.5s, your 3, your 4.5. Everything is in white as you go up the side of the ruler and you see your divisions. So this ruler will cut all of those different shapes and give you opportunities that you haven't had in the past in taking your own stash, using those fat quarters and cutting them up into these popular cuts and making a lot of quilts.